Hey everyone, this is Lisa from Life in Layouts, and today I'm going to be using this 10 photo 5-pack from Scrapbook Generations. It has 5 sketches that contain 10 photos. I'm also going to be using this collection called Christmas Delivery from Carta, and I do believe this is still available, so I will link it below. These photos are our family photos that were taken back in 2020, and these were actually our very first family photos that were taken right after Eli moved in with me. This wood grain that I am using, I did pull from the pack of 25 that I picked up from Tuesday morning when they were available. It's from the By the Sea collection, which I think is also by Carta. I picked up this sketchbook simply because it had 10 photos in it, and I love the fact of being able to put a ton of photos on a layout. There's enough embellishments on here that I think that it still looks really nice. It's not overwhelming, and by looking at it, there are 10 photos, so there are a lot of photos. This particular layout I posted on my Instagram because I had to do some mathing on this one. I wanted to use larger photos than what the sketch called for. I think the sketch called for like 3x5 photos, and there were a couple, like the one that's over there on the far left. I wanted that 4x6 photo because you could really see like the truck in the background, so I didn't want to cut it down because then I would be cutting off the truck. I had to figure out how much of the wood grain that I needed to cut out to accommodate the bigger sizes on the left and the right, because the right I also used 2 sets of 4x6 photos. So like the bottom one where Eli's in the truck is a 4x6, and then there's a 4x4 on top of that, and those called for 3x5. I think it was like actually 3.5x5. I'm not exactly sure. I remember having to do lots of math on those, but I think that it worked out well. This is another layout where I pulled out my border punch, and this border punch that I use is called the Ticket Punch, I think, and I don't know if it's still available because I purchased it a while ago, but I love that little scallop looking edge. Like, it's a really tiny scallop. Think about like the sides of a ticket, and it just looks really nice on that wood grain over on the right hand side. The 3 photos that I add to the left hand side, I just go ahead and put them directly down. I did put the top and bottom down first, and there was like a little gap between the photos, but I actually ended up taking that up and moving them because I didn't like that gap. Then I add the wood grain next to it. I just fold my layout a little bit so that the photos will be on top of the pattern paper. And on the left hand side, I add a 1/2 inch strip in green and a 1/4 inch strip in the plaid, black and white plaid. So like on the left, I have a piece of paper that matches almost exactly to the dress that I'm wearing. And then on the right hand side, it has more of a red plaid. I loved this outfit that we did together. Like, I wore the black and white plaid, and Eli just had on that red button-down shirt with black pants. But it just went so well with the black truck that the photographer had. These photos were actually taken with the photographer that I had before I moved back home. I moved about an hour and a half away, had a photographer up there, and so she was a fabulous photographer, but so far away, and the amount of times that we take photos, I needed somebody local. And so when I moved back to my hometown, I had a friend who was using this person that we use now, and I was like, oh, I'll try her and see if she's any good, because I loved my photographer up there. And that was it. Like, I was sold by her photos because she does amazing photos. Love these photos. I'm so glad that we have them, but these were the last photos that we had with that particular photographer, and kind of sad because I really enjoyed getting to know that photographer. Something that I realized in my life, and maybe it's been since 2020, but I have quite a few people in my life who are small business owners, and I support them as much as I can. And I know that there's certain things that I could do, and I could go to a big box store and get that done. But then also there are those people that I want to support, and I will return back to them. So like my photographer, we have a hairstylist who does Eli's hair and my hair, and there's certain people that I buy my scrapbooking supplies from, and I feel like I try to support as many small business owners, especially female business owners, as possible. And this is one of those things that I know that I want amazing pictures, and I'm definitely going to support that one person because she continues to provide us with amazing products. So I'm super excited to have those people in my life and build relationships with them. So it's not just these, random one-off people that I'm getting these services from. It's people that I have built relationships with, and I'm super excited about that. And for Nikki, who's our photographer, she has watched Eli grow over the last 3 years, and it's just been amazing to see her interaction with him because they also have a relationship. Obviously it's not like a very close relationship, but when she does see him, she is able to have conversations with him and find out things about him. That was a really huge tangent. Let's get back to the layout. I have put all of the photos down, and I decided to put that photo on the far right. That is my favorite photo that was taken. I did put that up on fun foam as well as backed it with black cardstock, and I'm going to add that over to the far right hand side, and our title will be right above it. I pulled out this paper because the sketch calls for a strip of things. In the sketch it's a heart, and I thought I could use this pattern paper and cut out these trees. I fussy cut the star at the top, and that's when I realized I did not like the way that it was turning out. I couldn't get the edge of the tree straight. I just didn't like the way that it looked. So I pulled out this paper that had a bunch of different tags on it and thought maybe that would work, but I didn't like that either. So what I ended up doing was using the wood grain paper that is on the left and right, and I'm going to take this heart, and I know it's just like the sketch, but I feel like the wood grain really does bring in the truck and just the vibe of these photos. So I cut a bunch of hearts out of the wood grain. I actually like the way that it turns out because of the way that the wood grain looks in a smaller print on those hearts. There are some that have the actual darker pieces of the wood grain, and some have the lighter pieces. It looks really nice. I do go ahead and ink the edges with black soot, and using my T-square ruler I do lay them flat. I started with the bottom and then went to the top and kind of went back and forth on that to make sure that they were evenly spaced, and it turns out beautifully. The sketch does call for some stitching on those hearts, so I'm looking through my stitching templates, and I have these linked below. They are from Basil. They are no longer made, but you can reach out to them and ask them to bring them back. I've posted that a while ago in some videos, and I think that's really the only way that we could possibly get it done. I've used them quite a bit and I do enjoy them. However, I did end up deciding not to put anything on those wood grain hearts. I just didn't want to add any additional to it. I pulled out this ruler that I have from Tim Holtz. I recently picked this up and I'm not liking it as much as I thought I would. I like the fact that the holes are closer together, but for some reason it doesn't stay as well as my other one does. So if you have this ruler, if you can let me know what you do to make sure that the ruler stays in place, because what happened on this layout, and it was really heartbreaking, is that I moved the ruler and I wasn't paying attention to it. So the ruler moved when I was poking the holes, which means that the line is not straight. And I was able to cover the first one up with that larger plaid present, and it's the same print that's on the right hand side, so that looks well. And actually the sketch calls for an embellishment piece there, as well as an embellishment piece kind of right there in between those two photos, and then also on the right hand side. Those are where the 3 embellishment clusters are in the sketch. So luckily I was able to cover one of them up, and you can still see the other one up there at the top, and I'm trying to figure out another way to cover it up. So I pull out these wood trees that I have, thinking maybe that will work. I thought about putting a heart over there to match the heart on the right hand side. What I ended up doing was pulling out these templates again, and there's one that has cross stitches on it. I decided to go ahead and put a cross stitch right where I messed it up. I also decided to add a cross stitch down the line. It's still very obvious to me, obviously because it's my mistake, but I feel like if other people are looking at it, they're not gonna notice it as much as I notice it. but it was very heartbreaking because I love the way that this layout turned out, and that stitching, that's one of those things that you can't undo, right? You can't unstitch something because you'll have a bunch of holes. So let me know in the comments below, if you have this particular ruler, how do you keep it from moving so that your lines are straight? I have gone back to my other ruler that I was using. Those lines are very far apart, so it is a very different look than this one, and I love the way that it looks. I just wish that I could figure out how to get it straight. So you can see there that I've added a couple of the cross stitches. I'm not really following the placements on the guide. I'm just kind of eyeballing it to see where it will look nice on the layout and make it less obvious that there was a mistake, and I'm trying to cover it up. And that's what we say in scrapbooking, right? There's no real mistakes. It's just fun ways to embellish. I did decide to go ahead and add some wood veneer hearts in each one of the clusters as well. That cluster that's up there on the upper left-hand side, I wanted that to be really small because I didn't want to kind of take away from the photos itself, but I definitely wanted to add something there because it did break up the photos. I also pulled out my color box in black and added some enamel dots in the clusters as well. I started out with some hearts, but then I didn't like the way that they look, so I went ahead and pulled those up and just added just the enamel dots. My title is going to be We Are Family, and I played around with this word family quite a bit. I really love these stickers. They are black and then they have like a white stitching around the edge of it, and it just sets off perfectly against that black and red plaid. But I tried to figure out a placement for it. I moved it around quite a bit. I actually ended up putting it on the photo, but I didn't like how the dot from the eye didn't really set very well. I did pull out the Simple Stories Color Vibe books in like the basic colors, which are like white and black, and use the tile stickers to spell out the words we and are. And I'm going to move those around quite a bit trying to figure it out. I'm actually going to use fun foam on the F and the dot of the I, trying to make it work because I really liked the way that it looked on that photo, but I just couldn't get it to work. I do end up taking it off of the photo, and I first thought, well, maybe I'll just have it like right above the photo, but then the Y swooped down and I didn't like the way that that looked. I play around with it, like I said, quite a bit. I finally do end up finding a place for it. I move it up enough that it sits further up. What I decided to do to bridge the gap was to add the year below it as well. So I have the tile stickers above and below the word family. All right, and then that is it for this video. Here is my final layout as well as some close-ups. I hope you guys enjoyed this layout with tons of photos on it. If you did, if you wouldn't mind giving me a thumbs up, I'd really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already and you want to see more double page layout inspiration, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks everyone for watching, and I hope that you have a scrappy day.